I swear, this camera lately has been possessed by Cthulhu himself and has been draining my sanity at about that kind of rate. But that's not what we're here to talk about, which is this right here, the Cheap Shot by Cold Steel, which is a pretty amusing name. I hope it's not going to be cheap in terms of quality. I mean, I can already tell you based on my first impression so far, because I've taken a couple of shots off camera, supposedly on camera, and seems pretty good so far. So let's take a closer look. First off, I've got the chronograph set up right there, and we're going to take a couple of shots here. And this is pretty interesting. It has an integrated cocking mechanism. Don't demonetize me, YouTube. I can say cock as much as I want when it pertains to operating a crossbow. Shut up. So there's a latch here that you push in and you move that forward, so this picks up the string. You gotta go all the way forward until you hear that click, otherwise it may get stuck on the anti-dry fire latch, and then it goes right back, clicks in, and you're good to go. And it's pretty easy. This mechanism makes it quite easy to span it. Don't want to use the C word too much because, you know, it might get demonetized. I mean, it might get demonetized anyway. In which case, always good to support me on Patreon, guys. 229 FPS. And I still don't know exactly how to aim with this. I mean, basically I can't aim perfectly because with the stock the way it is, I can't bring my face low enough. So stock is a little too high, and so I can't align that painted rear side notch with the fiber optic front sight. It's a pretty decent side picture. It's always nice to have the fiber optic, but I just can't get quite low enough. So the shots are a little high. I'm just gonna have to compensate for it. All right, 226. I'm just gonna take the gloves off so I can also give you my opinion on how it handles without. And I do very much like the grip. It's nice and ergonomic, well shaped, textured, and pretty good. So there we are, and this is really easy. I don't know if I mentioned that already. I can't tell anymore with how many takes I've had to do with this frickin' camera, which might very well become the next target. I'm gonna aim for the bottom left circle there. So I'm gonna have to aim a bit lower because of the sight alignment. How about here? All right, perfect. 230. All right, so no problem handling it without gloves. There's nothing uncomfortable or abrasive or who knows what. The safety comes on automatically. And yeah, let's take another shot here. All right, a bit high, 228. So far it has been very consistent, 228, and that range, 229, yeah. Very consistent, which is a good sign. Basically, so far what I found is what takes the longest is finagling the bolt in there, which is pretty typical for crossbows. Duplicate, 229. 228. I put my Hollow Sun red dot on there. This crossbow came with a red dot, but I found it personally insulting. It's a mockery. It questions every ounce of dignity you have as a customer. Of course, I'm joking and exaggerating. And of course, you can always say, well, it's better than nothing, right? But in this case, I would respectfully disagree. The thing is so cheap and horrible that I'd rather not have it. However, fortunately, the crossbow itself is a lot of fun. And I'm definitely liking it so far. You could also use it without the stock. That's removable. Then of course you don't have as many points of contact, but it's doable. Also, I like that this fits standard M4 stocks. So this one I'm not super impressed with. In case of a crossbow, it doesn't matter anywhere near as much as with a firearm, because you're not getting recoil backwards. If anything, it pulls forward. This really just needs to act as another point of contact. But the thing is so stiff. Like, check this out. It's really stiff. Maybe a bit of oil would help, and it'll probably break in. The sling mount here seems to be all plastic, and it's not great build quality by any means. Again, for this it's okay because it doesn't really need to withstand significant force or anything, but you can get whatever M4 style stock you want and put it on, so that's pretty good. Can't really tell you anything about the accuracy yet because I said the red dot isn't sighted in yet, and I also need to practice with it some more to get a feel for it and all of that. So this is pretty short distance right now, and I'm just interested in the overall operation. Now the other question, of course, will be long-term durability, which again I can't make any statements about yet, obviously, but yeah, in terms of fun factor, oh yeah, we got something here. Okay, shooting just a little bit low. And speed, of course, is great. Sometimes I hesitate a little bit here because I want to make sure that it really fully clicks in. You wouldn't want that to just fly forward. I wish I had some more zombie heads left over right now, because that would be great to try power. Now, just going by how deep the bolts bury themselves in the target, seems to have pretty respectable power. Now, of course, it can't compete with like a large, 400 FPS crossbow. That's obvious, and that's not what it's going for, clearly. This is really more speed and ease of use, and it's quite compact too. Of course, you have to, with this compact size, this is, by the way, pretty much the shortest you can get away with in Canada, because there is a prohibition on pistol crossbows, which I personally find really silly and unreasonable, but politics, it is what it is. And the minimal length that you have to have for a crossbow is 50 centimeters, and this from the front to the end right here without the stock, since it's removable, is 53. So this is about as short as it gets, so that's nice, and it is very compact. Okay, let's see if I can't do this a little faster. Yep, that's the problem. If you speed up too much, it'll just snap forward because you don't lock it in fully. Trigger is nice. Now, at least in terms of draw weight, by firearm standards, this would be a quite mushy trigger because you don't feel at all when it's going to break. It's nice and light, but it's just continuous smooth pull, and then the shot just breaks. So you don't really feel when it's about to break. Okay, I think that was my fastest so far. So definitely with practice, this can get really quick. Okay, now I'm at a more appropriate distance. Can you even see me over here? So this is about 30 meters, maybe 30 to 35, something like that. And we'll see how it goes. It's gonna aim center of mass on the target. I have no idea where that's going. I can't see it from here. Well, it's gonna be fun to look for those. Now, you actually know where they are. I mean, maybe you saw it, but from over there, no chance. Where are they? Professional stuff right here. So I'll be aiming substantially higher now. Hopefully I'll hit the target. Hopefully it won't go above it. We'll see. There we are. So now we're at the 30-meter mark. 30 something. Alright, so my impression of the cold steel cheap shot so far, definitely positive. There are a couple of cheap things about it, like the stock and the horrible red dot sight that it came with, but otherwise, really nice design. For recreational shooting, This is a lot of fun. This never gets old. Like, this cocking mechanism is great. It works really well. It's easy to operate. It's quick. And in terms of ergonomics, this is great. This is very light. You can lug this around all day and no problem. Feels good in the hand, points naturally, all of that. Can't make any statements about long-term durability yet, obviously. But there is some wiggle and rattle in the cocking mechanism, which is probably unavoidable with something like this. But otherwise, the polymer frame, no problem with that. The rail here is plastic as well, which I would prefer if it was metal, but shouldn't really be a big deal. It's all integrated, so probably fine. The stock adapter here seems good. You can put any kind of stock on there that you want. The foregrip that it came with, again, is more of the cheap variety. But what I like is that there's a knob for tightening it, so you don't actually need a screwdriver for it. You can easily put that on and take it off, and just like that, nice and quick. Fiber optic front side is nice. That's always good to have. Makes it a little bit more awkward to load bolts, because you have to kind of thread it in under there and then move it back. You can't just slap it down from the top. But I mean, if you wanted to, you could cut that off, I guess, and then only use a red dot side. Anyway, so for recreational target practice, so far, really liking it. That's great for that purpose. I'm not a hunter. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about that. I can't tell you if it would be good for that, maybe for small game, whatever. Home defense, somebody might ask about that, but I definitely would not recommend it for that. It depends, of course, where you are, how the laws in your country are. You might not be allowed to use firearms for home defense or whatever. If you aren't, then chances are this would not look good in court either, because it's not exactly a less lethal design. So there's that. Plus, operating this under stress, that could be a problem. You know, this latch here, like if you struggle with it, and then there's the problem if you don't move it far enough forward, this might get stuck on the anti-dry fire latch, or you might not click it in fully. There's a lot of points in the loading process where it can go wrong if the adrenaline is pumping and then you're left with nothing. In fact, right now, as I was operating this while talking, while I was distracted, that's exactly what happened. So you see right there, it's stuck on that anti-dry fire mechanism. And yeah, even if I just talk meanwhile, I'm not fully focused, I may not push it far enough forward. So now what I have to do is pull this forward again, and you also have to know how to do it. You have to kind of push it up first, then push in the latch, otherwise it won't move. And then you can move it forward and make sure that it clicks in, and then you correct that error. So here, like sometimes, you know, depending on the angle, it can get hung up. Now, with enough practice, it's not going to be a problem, especially if you're not under stress. But for that reason, defense. However, if you manage to load this before confronting the intruder and then point it at someone and ask them to leave, yeah, this is quite a deterrent, for sure. By the way, don't worry, there's nobody behind the camera. I do enjoy this crossbow, and now I've talked so much about it, this is already a full review. So basically, I'm just going to consider it that. If anything happens with it, like if I run into problems, if it breaks or anything else, I'll just give you an update. But for now, I'm confident enough that I can recommend it, at least for recreational shooting. So hope you'll like the video. Hope you found it entertaining and informative and all of that. Check out the links down below if you want to support the channel and all of that good stuff. So have a good one, folks. Okay, one thing right after shutting the camera off, I just pulled this bolt out of the target and the insert remained in it. So it's not the greatest glue, apparently.